Hello, and welcome my beautiful friends and family to another video. And I know we've been a little bit off of the schedule this week, but we are gonna be getting back to the schedule next week. Today's video topic is top 10 vegan protein sources. But you might be thinking, didn't you do this video quite a while back?
On my left, I have
John Venus. What's going on, guys?
Venus from Norway. They have plenty of protein, help you gain muscle, right?
And this was quite a few years back, and this was before I had the experience that I have now with vegan diet, the plant-based diet. And so we were giving the top 10 vegan protein sources at that time, but now I want to do a part 2 where I'm giving you completely different sources that can give you even more knowledge, because so many people think that there is a difficulty when it comes to finding protein sources in the foods that you eat, and there's not. And so first things first, I just want to review what was in the last top 10 vegan protein sources, and that is spirulina, lentils and beans, edamame soybeans, seitan, wheat gluten, tempeh, dense veggies, tofu, fake meat, vegan protein, and seeds. And so now we're gonna move forward into the next top 10 vegan protein sources. And spoiler alert, which I'm sure a lot of you already know, this is not all of the vegan protein sources that are out there. There are still more. So if you are watching and I don't hit one of the ones that you were expecting me to say, leave it in the comments below, because you know people scroll through the comments. So let people know even more vegan protein sources, because it is not hard to eat enough protein on a vegan diet. So these are in no particular order, but we are going to start with number 1, which is quinoa, which has 8 grams of protein per 1 cup that is cooked. And again, for me, I'm a bodybuilder, so I'm always eating a lot of calories, so it makes it even easier for me to get my protein in. But even if you aren't eating a ton, like an excessive amount of calories, it's still generally pretty easy to hit your protein sources. And that brings me to point number 2, bean pastas. And bean pastas are an insane source of protein. So there's a company called Explore Asia, and I know there's a lot of other bean pastas that are coming out, but Explore Asia has black bean, edamame bean, mung bean, adzuki bean, lentil, chickpea pastas, and they're all just about 25 grams per serving, which makes it a really desirable source of protein. Because when I make my pasta, especially back in the day before I was vegan, I would make my pasta and then I would put some sort of meat in there. So whether it was a meatball or if it was like a chicken breast or something like that, I would aim for something like 20 to 30 grams of protein. And with this, you literally just do 2-ounce serving, just a very small serving of this bean pasta, and you add it to your normal wheat whole grain pasta, and you barely even notice that's there. Or if you don't necessarily like the texture, you can eat that first and then go after the rest of your pasta. But it's 25 grams of protein. Number 3 is nutritional yeast, and this is one that a lot of people were expecting me to say in the last video, but again, there's just only 10 spots. There's so many different sources of food that have protein in them. Nutritional yeast might be a new one if you are here and you aren't a vegan and you are just looking to maybe get your ideas before you go into veganism. Nutritional yeast was something that I had never heard of, and I hear the word yeast and I was like, well, isn't that for bread? You know, I don't really understand what the point of eating it is. It's actually a completely different thing. It has kind of a cheesy flavor, and so what I'll do is I'll replace my Parmesan in a pasta dish with nutritional yeast, or if I'm making a soup or something like that, like a broccoli soup or potato chowder, I'll put nutritional yeast in there to add kind of a cheesy flavor. But again, also it has a ton of protein, 14 grams of protein per ounce that you use, as well as it has quite a few different vitamins in there, which is really helpful, like B12, just to have more nutritional value in the food that you're eating. Next up, number 4, and this might be obvious to a lot of you guys, but I think a lot of people are overthinking where to get your protein from. Even if you aren't even really thinking about it, you're going to get protein in. And so number 4 is bread. And one of the biggest products that I suggest, I really love it, is Dave's Killer Everything Bread or Dave's Killer Everything Bagels. And you don't need to get Dave's stuff. All breads have a decent amount of protein in them, but the Dave stuff specifically has a lot of protein. It's got 11 grams in each bagel and it has 5 grams in each slice. So even if you're just having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with 2 slices of bread, you're gonna have 10 grams of protein from that. And that's pretty phenomenal. I mean, if you're eating a lot of calories, if you're someone who's overthinking protein in the first place, you're probably eating a good amount of calories. So maybe you're gonna have 2 or 3 peanut butter and jellies because you need to get those calories in. And oops, you just had 30 grams of protein just from the bread itself, not even counting for the peanut butter in there. Next up, number 5, and I wanted to put this in here just because someone who followed old school bodybuilding, I used to really harp on this food. It was oatmeal. I used to see bodybuilders just pounding down cups and cups and cups of oatmeal, and the reason that they did that, those bodybuilders I was following back in the day, they weren't vegan, but they knew that oatmeal had tons of great nutritional value in the first place, but also has tons of protein. So there are 6 grams of protein per 1 cup cooked steel rolled oats are the type of oats that I like to eat. So I don't necessarily advise going for the Quaker oats, instant oats that are like cinnamon, sugary, kind of all that stuff. I try to stay away from the sugar. But yeah, I love making oats with just literally as much almond milk as you do put in oats, and then from there you can add whatever it is that you want to flavor it with. So I'll put like some cacao powder in there, and then just mix that up. Literally, that's just about all I do. Add some stevia and it's sweetened. You can also add peanut butter. You can add some protein powder if you want to add a flavor and a thickening or even more protein into there. But yeah, oatmeal is I think we all agree, a really healthy food, but it's also got a lot of protein in it. Now, number 6 on the list, I didn't include it in the first one just because it has quite a bit of fat in there, but we all should be eating some seeds or nuts. And so in the first one, we put in seeds, but in this one, I wanted to put in nuts. And nuts have a decent amount of protein as well as different fats that you should be getting in the first place. So while you won't be getting all of your protein from nuts, you shouldn't be eating, 100 grams of protein from nuts, because you're also going to be getting in a ton of fat. You should be getting in some nuts, and even just from those small amount of nuts that you're putting in your mouth, you're gonna get protein. So right here I got pistachios, 6 grams of protein per ounce. Almonds are 6 grams of protein per ounce, and I'm sure it pretty much follows that same line of protein per ounce when it comes to walnuts and cashews and et cetera, whatever kind of nut that you like to chew on. Now, number 7, I can see some people maybe fighting me on this point because they might say, in the last video you mentioned beans, but chickpeas or garbanzo beans? I guess it depends on how you call it because they're the same thing, but I wanted to put this in here because while I would say that it is technically a bean, it's such a different thing. You don't use chickpeas the same way you use like black beans or pinto beans. They're much like harder, they have a different texture, and they're really good in like an assortment of different things. Like I like to put chickpeas into salads. I think that's really, really freaking good. I also have just recently been buying roasted chickpeas from like companies like Saffron Road, and there's a few other ones. But then I thought maybe I should just roast my own chickpeas, and it's actually super easy. If you put chickpeas in the oven at about 400 degrees for about 40 minutes or so, and then you salt them and toss them in chili powder or whatever it is that you want to, make them flavored with, garlic powder. It actually gets like really crunchy, and it's great. You can put it in like a little Ziploc bag, take it with you to college, and you can just kind of pop those things. And there are, ready for this, 40 grams per cup of garbanzo beans or chickpeas, whatever you want to call it. 40 grams. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily eat that many chickpeas, but think about it. Even if you're not having a cup of chickpeas at once, because maybe that's a lot for you, maybe you have 1/3 of a cup of chickpeas in your salad, and then you have 1/3 of a cup of toasted chickpeas. Even just that is going to be like 25 grams of protein. So chickpeas, do not underestimate them. They are high value, high protein source of protein. What? You know what I'm saying. Now this next one, number 8, is kind of a weird one because I actually replaced a different food that I was going to put as number 8 with this one, because this one's so peculiar that I don't think a lot of people even realize that there's a lot of protein in it. A lot of people use this just for its nutritional value every morning, and it is chlorella. And a lot of people don't really know what that is. It is an algae. I believe it's an algae. It might be a moss, but it's grown in the ocean, I believe, and it is almost entirely made up of protein. And again, most people use it for the fact that it has tons of vitamin D, tons of vitamin B12, iron, iodine, chlorophyll. I'm reading it off this package right here because I have it, and it usually comes in powder form or it comes in tablet form. And usually people take this just for their general health, but they don't realize that there's actually a lot of protein. So I'll read you right here. Per half cup is 58 grams of protein. And you're not gonna have a half cup of these tablets, but for 10 grams, it has 5.8 grams of protein. Usually a serving size is about 30 grams of chlorella, which is gonna have around 15 or more grams of protein. So even just from taking your daily chlorella, you're getting a ton of protein without even thinking about it. which again, a lot of us aren't thinking about how much protein we're getting in. Number 9, there are a lot of different grains. That's number 9, grains. There are a lot of different types of grains, and obviously we think of the typical grains, but there's a lot of interesting grains that I literally didn't even know existed, because before I went vegan, I hadn't really diversified what I was eating. I was kind of just getting used to eating the same thing over and over and over, but there are a lot of different grains that are really delicious. For example, millet has 6 grams of protein per cooked cup. Amaranth has 7 grams of protein per cooked cup. And there's other things like farro and all these different types of grains. And they aren't complicated to make. They just sound, crazy because you've never heard of them before. But you literally just cook them just like brown rice. You literally are just going to boil them for like 15 to 25 minutes. And then you're going to throw them in a giant Tupperware. And then you can just serve them to yourself, just by scooping them out pre-cooked and then heat them up. And they have tons of protein in them. Again, another source that you don't even really think about, but it's complex carbs with a lot of protein in it. And number 10 on my list here, I wanted to put this in last because this is a food that almost all of us eat, especially health conscious, fitness conscious people. We're gonna get this automatically, and it's another source of protein that people don't even really think is going to help increase your protein intake throughout the day. And again, I think that's part of the reason why people think it's so hard to get protein in. But number 10 is rice. And let me tell you, wild rice has 7 grams of protein per cooked cup. Brown rice has 5 grams per cooked cup. And for me personally, especially with rice, I'm definitely having at least a cup cooked, probably more like a cup and a half, maybe 2.5 cups, or even more depending on if I'm bulking, cutting, where I'm at. But like, for example, when I make one of my favorite dishes is a mixed veg and rice. That's pretty much it. If I feel like it, I'll add chickpeas, and that's a powerhouse of protein, but it's basically just putting frozen mixed vegetables into a pan along with onions and garlics, let that get all cooked up. Then I'll just throw in pre-cooked rice that I already made a big batch of, and that'll be, like I'm saying, a cup, maybe 2 cups. So just there, the protein from the rice is adding 10 more grams. And then you have the protein from the dark green vegetables that you're putting in there, and maybe you're putting some chickpeas in there. And now, oops, you just had 25 grams of protein or more in your mixed veg and rice dish. And that's just one of the dishes that you're gonna be eating in a single day. And I know a lot of people are gonna be asking, how much protein are you trying to get in per day? I've done a video about this before, but I'll say it right now. I average about 100 to 140 grams of protein per day, or at least that's my goal. A lot of the times I will actually go severely over that without even trying. Again, because it is so easy to get your protein in. It is literally just a myth, or it's just an ignorance to the amount of protein that is in normal food, from people who just are so, conditioned to eating chicken with everything or eggs with everything. It's extremely easy to get your protein in, and sometimes I'll be like, oops, I just had 175 grams of protein today and I wasn't even trying to do that. And I've literally seen no trouble not having 350 grams of protein like I did when I was a 15-year-old kid and I was reading those muscle mags. You don't need as much protein as you need. Like I said, 100 to 140 has been killer for me, and I've gone from when I bulk up, I'll get to 215, 220, I'll come down and I'll lean up all the way down to somewhere around 180, 182, and then I'll go back up to 210, 220, no issue up or down with the weight or preserving muscle mass or strength or anything like that with the change in protein from when I was 15 until now when I've learned a little bit more. I was trying to make that a really quick, snappy video. I'm sorry if I was speaking really fast. I just tend to do that, especially when I'm excited, when I'm ready to film a video. I'm well hydrated today. I feel good. I also have a lot of people asking me about soy. Is it okay to have tofu, soy, etc., edamame beans? Is it okay to have soy? I'm actually going to link a study below that proves they basically did a meta-analysis of many different studies on soy and its effect on estrogen count and testosterone in the body. So you guys can check that below. It actually proves that there is no significant effect on estrogen within the body based on the amount of soy that you eat. So you are in the clear is basically what that study is saying. If you want to check that study, I'll put it below. But that is it for this video. Again, thank you guys for checking out my videos. Thank you for supporting me. If you enjoyed this, I really want you to give it a thumbs up. And if you had anything to add while you were listening to this, if I didn't hit one of the protein sources that you thought would be relevant, definitely leave it in the comments below. If you're looking for an awesome plant-based protein powder, get the one that I'm sponsored by. It's amazing. Vivo Life. I'll leave a code and a link below the video. And subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Team Beyond the Week, CT.
Lift heavy or die, MIRIN, motherfucker. Team Beyond the Week. CT, heavy.